Hi everybody, I'm Astrid, I'm a Butch Dyke, I'm the current UK Bootblack title holder, I'm a trans woman, pronouns are she, her. This is Galen, who's this year's Mr. Leather London. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm Galen. I'm the current Mr. Leather London. I got my title a couple months ago. So this is also my first public speaking kind of role in this. So yeah, be kind.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, our talk is about myths and realities of the leather and bootblack community. So when you came in, there's some papers on the stool with some pencils. So if you could jot down like first impressions that you have, I'll address these in the later half of the workshop. So yeah, feel free to fill that out. And then I'll gather all the papers together, and then we can work on that.
Yeah, and until we get to that point, I'm going to be working on Galen's boots and talking a little bit about what bootblacking is. Hands up if you know what bootblacking is in this room. Okay, yeah, a few people. Okay, so bootblacking is like, like shoe shines, lots of like Victorian pauper children in the 1800s. And then, like that's still a thing that's happening today, obviously. But bootblacking is, it's very much that sort of practice, but it's more like fetish and leather community oriented. There is often, but not always, a sexual element to it, and it's a lot deeper than just making a pair of shoes presentable. There's a lot of focus on the preservation and the care of not just like leather boots, but also like other leather garments, like trousers and shirts and waistcoats and chaps and harnesses and fisting swings and sashes, and that's what I do. And I've been doing it for a few years, and became the UK Bootblack title holder last November. And yeah, so that's kind of what bootblacking is. I'm going to talk. I'm going to work on Galen's boots now, and I'll maybe talk a little bit about what I'm doing, and then Galen, maybe you could tell me about misconceptions that you might have had about bootblacking.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then I'll fill in the gaps, and then we can have a nice conversation about it, and then get to any questions that people might have had. If any of you have misconceptions about like the leather scene, especially the gay leather scene, and you haven't written something down on a bit of paper, don't feel like you can't get up and go grab one of those papers and like write down like, even if it's a question you have about the scene, we can just get to work.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Galen, how long has it been since you've had these worked on?
Last time I had them worked on was probably back in the end of February.
Cool. Okay. So it's been a few months.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a bit scuffed up.
So I'm going to put them through a full routine then. We're going to start by cleaning them with some saddle soap, which is a special kind of soap for saddles, which are usually made of leather. So they work on all kinds of leather. How many times have you sat for a bootblack?
Probably. Oh God, I probably lost count. I wasn't really counting. Probably about maybe 5 times, at least in the last year.
Yeah.
So I get them done whenever I think that they're a bit scuffed up, or I just feel they need a touch up.
Did you have any like initial impressions about like what sort of thing it would be?
My first impressions about it, I always thought it might have been I guess a sub-dom kind of thing. So where the bootblack would feel, I guess, submissive to doing the boots.
Yeah, that's
so
misconception number one. A lot of the bootblacking work that I do has that sort of submissive edge to it. Not necessarily like every single time though, but it's not an innately like this. You'd think like what I'm doing right now. Hands up if you would assume right off the bat that what I'm doing right now is kind of like a submissive thing. Cool.
Yeah.
It looks like a pedicure from what
Yeah. It basically is. It's a pedicure for your shoes and a foot massage all rolled into one. But like, it doesn't necessarily need to be. I don't necessarily need to be submissive while I'm doing this. I often am, and that's great. Love that. Very fun. But it's quite a neutral activity. Like I've worked on boots for like partners and friends before, and it's had kind of a neutral sort of like, it's like I'm providing an active care sort of like aspect to it. And sometimes that can be a dominant thing as well. And then I know some really mean dom top bootblacks who have like tied people up in the chair to keep them still, scolded the person that's in their chair for like, oh, you've done an awful job. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're so messy. Like, and even like beyond like boots, bootblacks work on, depending on the level of work involved, all kinds of different like leather pieces. And I know a bootblack who was approached by somebody to get their dominant leather flogger worked on, and they wanted to have a bit of fun with it. So the way they worked on that was smearing the client's back in leather conditioner and flogging them to work it into the fucking sick, right? Like really cool. So like, yeah, no, absolutely, right? It's like true. It's an amazingly versatile practice that obviously historically has like submissive connotations. I think because it's like it has its roots in like a very like working class profession, right? Like shoe shines are like on the street polishing shoes for like business people going to important meetings and all of this sort of thing. But like one of the wonderful things about kink, fetish, leather generally is you get to subvert things, and that's sexy. And one of the wonderful things you can do to subvert this is by being really mean with it. But yeah, so I've got the boot all soapy now. If that wasn't apparent. So what we're going to do now is wipe it all down. I'm going to apply some conditioner, and then we'll move on to the next boot.
Cool.
It's the saddle soap just clean with.
Yeah, so saddle soaps contain this substance called like lanolin, which is a really good degreasing agent. So it's really good at like stripping any unwanted like dirt and oils out of leather. The other thing that it will do is it will pull out some of the moisture that's in the leather itself, so it will be quite dry after this, which is why when you do this, it's very important to like recondition your boots, because leather is just skin, right? But it's skin that's dead, so it can't do all of the stuff that my skin does when I have a shower and like maybe I don't need to moisturize afterwards. Sometimes I want to be extra hydrated, but like this leather isn't like producing like natural oils or anything, because the cow's not alive anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar sort of thing. Like very similar sort of thing.
Says the person over here with dry skin who has to be covered from head to toe.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah, well, working on leather is not too dissimilar to, I imagine, what you have to deal with in your day-to-day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've now cleaned it. It's already looking a lot better. I'm just going to give it a quick little brush down, just to get any excess, like, tiny little bits of soap off of them. And then we're going to use, there's a conditioner that I'm going to use on these. There's a conditioner I'm not going to use on these, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's fun. So this is the conditioner that I won't be using. It's called Hubbard's Shoe Grease. This isn't really a misconception, but like I think you'll enjoy this. It's pine tar and beeswax. It's a very strong leather conditioner, and what that's going to do is going to rehydrate the leather, make it a little bit softer. Sometimes you can use a lot of this with like stretching tools to make a shoe bigger if it's a bit tight in some areas. It's also body safe, so people actually use this as fisting lube sometimes, which is great. Yeah. Vaseline works as well. Like there's a lot of similar. Like there's like some petroleum jelly in this in Hubbard's and a few other conditioners like it as well. So like that's actually like a really really good shout. And it means you don't have to go around buying this stuff. But it's really like sexy and it's like a cool little vintage tin. Something I unfortunately won't be able to do today is because these boots are a kind of leather that I'm going to try and get a shine on. This kind of leaves a greasy residue that makes it difficult to like apply polish. But if they weren't boots that I was going to get shiny, because this stuff is body safe, you can actually put it on your tongue and lick it into leather, which is I enjoy doing that. It smells smoky though. You've already smelled it, but yeah, it's gorgeous.
Amazing smell.
If anybody, I'm not using it, so if anybody wants to like, I might pass this around, and if anyone wants to give it a sniff. It smells really, it's really nice. It's like pine. Yeah, do you want to pass it around? Like help yourself. So the stuff I will be using is this stuff. It's a much gentler conditioner. Doesn't dry. Doesn't leave a greasy residue on the boot. So I'm just going to work this in. What other assumptions have you had about boot blacks?
I mean, I guess the main one was about the subdom kind of thing, whereas I kind of felt intimidated going to boot black because I felt like it was putting me in that position of being the dom.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable being in that position.
No, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, like after I had my first boot shine, that was like, it was incredible. It was like you get a foot massage at the same time, and it was a bit unexpected.
Yeah, honestly, like for a lot of like there's such a like wide variety of like different experiences that I have when somebody sits in my chair. Often there's like a submissive like edge to it. Other times I've had like dominants bring their submissives to my chair to get their stuff worked on, and then like I don't know, like hit them with stuff and things like that while I'm working on their boots. And often there's also like room for me to sort of like partly participate in that. Like I have this brush here. It's beautiful. It's like an East German boot brush that's been rebristled. Somebody gave it to me. A good friend gave it to me for my birthday. Horrible paddle. Just the nastiest welts. Like, and sometimes if I have a little experience like that, I'll hand the brush off to the dom and be like, give that a go. See how you get on. But yeah, it's also, but then like I also have other experiences where like kind of it's, you know, I'm not a licensed therapist, but sometimes people like to talk about things that have been on their minds, and it's a good opportunity. It's a good space for like having a classic conversation about stuff. Sometimes it's like going to the hairdresser.
Yes, yeah,
really
I was just thinking about that, going to the hairdresser. Yeah.
So I'll just be like, "Up to anything exciting this week?" So that, yeah, no, it's if any of you have ever felt it now you're thinking to yourself, oh, maybe I want to get my boots worked on, you should definitely give it a go. Every boot black is going to be a little bit different, but like most of them are going to be happy to work on anybody's stuff and have a lovely conversation. Because the other thing about boot blacks, and you might assume like particularly in the gay leather scene that a lot of boot blacks are guys, because it's the gay leather scene, but there are actually so many like queer and trans people in the boot black community, and all of those people, by and large, are working on the boots of like gay leather men in leather spaces, and sometimes there's interesting conflicts there, depending on like the place you are, what the local scene is like in terms of like queer acceptance, but like. I'm hanging out with the London Leathermen all the time. Those boys love me to fucking pieces.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, which is lovely and wonderful, and I feel very welcomed in that space. Like I'm a trans woman, you know, I'm not a guy anymore. But like I'm very welcome in spaces like that. And as are so many other like queer and trans, like non-binary, like bootblacks.
You have to remember, most of the, I mean, I've been on the gay scene for forever and a day before
Yeah.
you lot were born. Most of the leather scene in London now aren't necessarily that kinky. They just dress up in leather. They
Yeah.
don't actually practice BDSM. Most of them are vanilla queens.
No, for sure. No, I've noticed a bit of this. I've noticed.
Most Compton, they've got the gear, but you go back to their house and it's all tin. You come back to my house and you've got fucking dungeon.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Just gonna do all of that all over again. Having a nice time?
Yes.
Good.
It was
Lovely.
fun.
How are we doing for time?
Let me see. 1:15.
Okay, cool.
Say you want to go sort of, you're not really on the dominant side. Do you feel like it's almost like a sort of pleasure dome kind of to your submissiveness in this situation? Like you're receiving sort of like not worship, but like
Yeah.
respect or-
I mean, there is an element of that, I guess. Like, there is a bit of element of selfishness. Like, I do like this. Like, it's fun, it's nice. But I'm not the kind of person that is domineering. So, but yeah, I'm a good receiver, I guess. That's
You're doing such a good job. Like, yeah. I mean, like, you know, like I'm a switch, and sometimes that switching involves, a little bit of mummy dumbing stuff, right? And like, I do this for people that I have that dynamic with, and
How good they care for their boots.
yeah, and like, it's okay. Boots are meant to get mucky. Like, I'm just glad you're having a good time. Like, got to get you nice and neat and proper. There's really like so many different ways that you can do this. Like, I have a good friend. His name is Jimmy Bassett. He was Northeast drummer Bootblack. Drummer like an American gay like fetish magazine, and he was the Bootblack title holder for the Northeast of that magazine in like 2017. Jimmy's a really interesting guy. Loves getting fisted. like it's like you can tell he loves getting fisted from like a mile away, right? Like,
Oh god.
yeah, no, literally, and like, he's like bootblacked. He's bootblacked for people before, whilst getting fisted, which is loads of fun. Yeah. But then he's also had his gear worked on while he's been getting fisted by like bootblacks. Like, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. It's great. It's fantastic. You can do whatever you want with most things, I think. There are like standard and conventional like common ways, but like especially like, what's the point if you're not having a bit of fun with it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Sex should always be fun.
Yeah.
Even in the most painful times. If you can't have a laugh at what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it.
Absolutely, completely agree.
If you're not laughing, it's not good sex.
Or like if you, at least have a laugh about it afterwards, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh no, that gives straight men anxiety to start laughing. I feel a lot with sex because weird stuff comes into my autistic brain. And it's not them.
Yeah.
It's not them. It's just the way that my brain works. I'm enjoying myself. But they're like, why are you laughing? I'm like, sex is supposed to be fun. We literally call it play. Don't you laugh when you're playing? It's so it's like, oh my god.
Does anyone have any questions about bootblacking? Maybe like any assumptions? Oh yeah, please go for it.
I do. In terms of the competitive component.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Excellent question. I've competed in a couple of title contests for Big Black stuff. I've also helped out with a title contest as well. By and large, my impression is that a lot of them work in a very similar way. Like there is a sort of, with Boot Black titles, there's less of the pageantry element that you might typically associate with some like historic like leather titles. There is an element of that, obviously. Like you still get up on stage at a point in time at the thing that the contest is running at, and you answer like silly questions to try and get everybody to chuckle in the audience. Like what, you know, like, oh, which of the judges would you have sex with, and what kind of sex would you have with them, and all that stuff, right? But there's a big skill element to it. A lot of Boot Black contests have technical challenges where you have like a limited amount of time, and all of the contestants will get given like the same pair of boots that have all been like scuffed up and damaged in the same ways. Some of the videos of contest runners doing that are like particularly upsetting for somebody like me. Like lots of sandpaper and like being driven over with like cars and things. It's like it's kind of like snuff. Like it's really really nasty. And then you'll have a certain amount of time to use all of your skills and knowledge to make them look as good as you can. And then usually there will be like an interview that will cover all sorts of different like things, but one of the things will be you justifying what you did in that technical challenge. Another big part is like stand work. So there was a separate event for the UK Boot Black contest, and there usually is every year. But for the European Boot Black contest, which happens at Darklands in Belgium, Darklands is a massive festival, loads of leather people, all doing all sorts of different things. And the contest is run within that. And part of the contest is we'll have like an open like Boot Black stand with all of the contestants with their own chairs, and anybody in attendance at the festival can come and get their gear worked on. And the judges will often be hovering around, watching you do your thing, noting down observations they make about how you're interacting with people sitting in your chair, what decisions you're making in the moment about what to do to certain kinds of boots, certain kinds of gear, and just like judging your ability to like manage your own stand time and like all of this stuff. Like maybe you might get marked down a little bit if you're working yourself to the point of exhaustion and like affecting your own like health because you're like going too hard into it, because that's another big part of it as well. And then some contests will also have like an educational element. Bootblacking for me it's not like, obviously this is a big part of it. I'm gonna polish the whole boot and then I'm gonna get the toe really shiny.
Right, okay,
Cool.
Yep. Cool.
I feel it's very important that like education and spreading like knowledge and awareness is like an equally important part of it. And it's not just like how to take care of your leather. Like it's like every single time somebody sits in my chair and they bring me something to work on, that thing will have a story. Sometimes it's like, this is the first pair of boots that I bought when I was getting into leather. Sometimes it's my dad gave me, like my dad passed away and I was looking through the attic and I found this leather jacket. Can you like give it some new life? And like, I find out so much, not just about the gear that people are wearing, but like the stories of those people wearing that gear and like what they do, like when they're wearing that gear and like what their lives are like. And like a lot of that stuff, as well as like general history of leather, which I'm utterly fascinated by. You could call it an autistic special interest. All of that stuff is very important. So like there's usually an educational component in these contests. A little bit, that was a bit of a tangent, but I love this stuff, so I talk about it for hours. There are still shoe shines in London even, but like there aren't very many at all. There are certainly like far less than there used to be. And bootblacking is only really like, this title has only existed for 2 years. I'm the second person to have this title. There's one other bootblack contest in the entirety of Europe. and it's the European Bootblack contest. So I'm one of two like Bootblack title holders in Europe. Completely different story in America. There's a bunch of different reasons why that might be the case. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a small collection of boots of about 13 different types of boots.
Yeah.
It's, it's like somebody likes choose boots. I happen to have very different types of boots, which you pick down very Converse, but they don't. And with some of the boots that I've got that go halfway up my thighs, it takes myself hours to clean. I think if I'm doing it, it's too much trouble.
Sounds like a skill issue to me, but no. No. It's yeah. I mean, I like my like end game goal is like to have one of those like shoe shine chairs that they've got in the States, right? Because there's much more of a surviving culture there, and I think it's a culture that is largely survived by the leather scene, which I don't know. They've got something else going on in the States with their leather scene.
Completely different to England.
Completely.
There's also more sense of community there.
Yeah.
Because London's gates, I'm talking from my own experience. I'm 61 years old, I've been on the gates since 1980, and 11-stroke scene. And before HIV medication came out, there was a lot more community feeling in the gay scene.
Yeah.
Also the leather and the rubber, the BDSM thing, there's a lot more sense of community. Nowadays there's practically none, which I think is a real pity.
I think it definitely still exists. I think it's the scale is different, certainly, and it's interesting. Like there must be like 100 different reasons why that must be the case, right? But yeah, there's certainly more of I think there's certainly more of like a continuous through line with like leather community stuff. I mean, in the States, there's like such a lot greater developed like leather, like a mixed leather scene, and that's not.
To give you an example, I used to belong to MSC London, 69 Club, Brothers Club, BCMC.
Yeah.
They've all basically disappeared. And now in London you have the leather social at the conference, which is, you go there and cheap screens, as I call them. Sorry. And, there isn't the sort of scene there was from Backstreet, The Voice, the Colburn, all of those places you probably never even heard of.
But think about it.
I've heard of some of those places, but obviously I've not been around to experience them. Sorry.
I'm an old fart.
Their farming industry is way bigger.
Yeah.
Way bigger. And obviously we know what happened to our farmers. Goodbye, Europe. So they definitely protect their animal husbandry over there.
Also, even with boots,
and
like
therefore a byproduct of getting all those states in America is leather, basically.
Yeah.
So when you look at it that way, yeah.
I mean, for instance, in Germany, the scene is much bigger and it is more sociable.
Oh yeah, but Europe again has like a bigger farming scene, husbandry scene than
Well, there's
the
450 million people to choose from, and only the English are stupid enough to know that economic suicide.
Our farmers, unfortunately, are now looking at cash crops, basically. They're not really
And
going
using
down.
immigrants to pick the vegetables is used to produce people to do it. Sorry.
Can we go back to these guys, please?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I think there's going to be like weird niche particularity things with like misconceptions around bootblacks in the leather scene, but I think by and large that's like the most important stuff that you need to know, and I hope you all like enjoy knowing a little bit more about like what bootblacking is and like how you can do it and all of this stuff.
Do you use silicone? Because I've also got rubber boots, because you have to be
Okay, that's one more thing.
Really careful with
Yeah.
silicone, because I had a guy polishing some of my rubber boots on silicone, and then the stupid buggers threw it on the floor. Now I have my rubber floor in my playroom. once that silicone was on it, you could have gone to Richmond Ice Rink and you could sail around later. It really was dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is another like misconception that there might be about like boot blacks is that it's just a leather thing as well, and that's actually like an interesting point. Is I don't just work on leather. The stuff that I have with me today is mostly leather. I'm working on Galen's boots. I'm going to be going to the Leather Social at Compton's afterwards and doing maybe a little bit of boot blacking there. But like, I have latex sprays. I have other products for working on different kinds of leather, like suede and nubuck and all of this sort of stuff. But I do work on like latex and rubber, and I have like special products for all of that.
Quite a bit about it. Slightly divergent.
Uh-huh.
How the fuck do you ever get a pair of white trainers to go white with that white stuff in their podium?
This is
I never managed to do it. They always look black.
this is something that I still need to add to my sort of like skill set. But there's
I've never managed to do it with a pair of Converse, white Converse. They always look dirty by the time I'm finished.
yeah. I mean, this like sneaker care stuff is like a whole other ball game. There's actually like if some of you aren't maybe necessarily familiar with like the broader like gay like fetish scene, like the specific gay fetish scene. There's like obviously there's loads of sportswear stuff, right? There are like sportswear titles. I've had lovely chats with some of the Mr. Sportswear UK title holders. And we're going to be like, I'm going to be getting them to teach me how to look after trainers at some point, because even in like the fetish world, there's a whole like extra sort of element there, which is you want the outside of the trainers to look good, but some of these guys don't want the inside of the trainers to look good.
Smell like high heaven.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's quite difficult because whenever I meet somebody who's into that, I've got one pair of trainers that do stick and I put them in a plastic bag. Well, you know, you've painted doors.
Yeah. I think that's everything I have to say about bootblacking. You got a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're bootblacking, are you charging or do you take tips? Or
Yeah, okay. So obviously every bootblack is different, but I know for what I do and what is quite a common practice is I don't charge a base fee for what I'm doing. Because I think this is an important part. Yeah. It's an important experience in the leather community, and I don't want to like gatekeep anybody who can't afford it. But I usually take tips, and that can. Typically it's around £20. Sometimes people tip more. Sometimes people tip less if they can't afford it or if they're being stingy. You can tell when the people who can afford it don't, like. We don't need to get bitchy. But yeah, like I charge tips, and fortunately enough, there are lots of wonderful people who can afford to tip more. But then it also means that somebody who's just getting into leather maybe doesn't have a lot of money, but wants the experience, whatever that experience ends up looking like on the day, they can still have that. Shall we move on to the audience questions, or do you have any? Do you want to?
I have a question as well.
Yes.
So, in your mind, what was bootblacking? When does it become an art? And how do you kind of differentiate different types of bootblacking?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question for me?
Yeah. In your mind, when does it become an art? As in skill. That is, and hence you have a title.
Yeah.
Where do you need to get to get into that sort of?
I mean, I can talk about my own experience and certainly like how that experience differs with some other bootblacks I know. If that would be a helpful answer to that question. Like I know for me, like obviously a big part of why I love this isn't just because I enjoy like becoming quite proficient at what I'm doing. I really love that. I am an autistic person, and it's really easy to like lock in on this sort of thing. I know a lot about boots. I know a lot about how to take care of boots. But like a big part of it is like this interaction that I'm having with you right now. I'm like there's a sort of connection happening here. It's a fun thing for the both of us. It's a part of the scene. It's part of the culture. I know lots of other bootblacks who don't participate in contests, aren't particularly concerned with that sort of thing. Like, I know lots of bootblacks who don't run stands. They don't come to events and bootblack. They just do it as a plaything. So, like, I get it's in terms of differentiating. I'd say it's you just have if you meet a bootblacker, just ask him about it, because like everybody's different. If there are no more bootblacking questions,
Yeah, I could probably get all the papers that you guys
who has a bit
got,
of paper?
and then we can, I can put them aside, and then I can
Yeah.
introduce myself, and yeah,
Yeah.
you pass them up forward. That would be great. Still need the same shoe. The boot.
Yeah, not quite done with that one yet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm Galen, and I am the current Mr. Leather London. I'm the third holder of this title. There was a bit of a change with the UK title, so now we've got four clubs in the ECMC in the UK. So the ECMC is the European Confederation of Motorcycle Clubs. They're pretty much like the umbrella group that looks after a lot of the clubs around the UK, around Europe, etc. The one with the most clubs is probably in Germany. I mean, they've got a lot of clubs in there. There's Hamburg, Berlin, Bavaria. So, I mean, there's loads of them there. But in the UK, we've got London, we've got Manchester, there's the Leathermen of Scotland, and Leathermen of Wales. Only two of those hold titles, and that's Wales and London. And just recently, we had the IML competition, which is International Mr. Leather. That was held in Chicago just last weekend. And there were quite a few European titles that went. Mr. Leather Europe was also Mr. Leather Wales, moved on to Europe and went there. So he finished in the top 20, and so did Mr. Leather London. So that was amazing. So yeah, one of the reasons that got me involved, like I didn't even get involved in the leather community really until a couple of years ago. So I've always had like little bits and pieces of leather, just kind of. I started off with these wrist cuffs, and then go into like leather socials, and then just slowly building up my wardrobe and that kind of stuff. But I didn't really get the courage until a couple of years ago when I went to Gran Canaria, and I met the International Mr. Leather at the time. And he sat down with us and like at a table, it was just like out of the blue and wearing a sash, and it was like, yeah, he was just super hot as well. So I mean, that really helped. So I guess he was like my inspiration to like kind of join like a leather community and club, and then eventually run for this title.
So he a bottom as well?
Sorry?
Was he a bottom as well?
I don't know if he was or not. If he was a bottom. Yeah. So my biggest thing about the leather community is being part of a community, feeling welcome, and being part of it. About 6 years ago, I set up the London Video Game Orchestra, and it was an orchestra. It was a community I wanted to build up because I felt ostracized or not welcome in classical orchestras or bands, and it felt kind of odd just being like the video game geek that I am and just like being made fun of. So I created this whole new community for video game nerds who like to play music, and got other people involved from other orchestras, and they were absolutely thrilled to be part of this orchestra. It's like they can actually feel like they're part of a community expressing their love for video games and video game music. So that is kind of my, I guess, jumping point to get into the leather community. I mean, at times it can be a bit cliquey, but I feel it's been a lot more welcoming in recent years, especially with our first Mr. Leather London. We've been open to women joining the club. There's a lot of people of color that's joined the club. And it does feel very warm and welcoming. So the London Leatherman, we have a monthly social called the Gear Social. We hold that every third Sunday at the Duke of Wellington. The Leather Social, ironically, isn't actually ran by the London Leatherman, and that's after this today. So I'll be there. So kind of lucky that we've got the 2 socials a month with the Leather Social and that. But there's also Hunter nightclub is every third Friday of every month. Sorry? Oh yeah, that's Electroworks. So that in itself, that starts kind of earlier than most clubs. So it opens at 8 o'clock. Is a big social part of it as well. So there's a big social area for like the bar. Anything that's remotely sex related is always in the back, and that starts at like 10 o'clock, and there's a dark room specifically for that. But I've always... Sorry?
What do you think about the bunker?
The bunker.
Yeah.
I've not actually been to the bunker.
I used to do the gay scene a lot a few years ago. I'm getting off top. I don't so much, but hey ho, there's recon and there's deadline, etc.
Yeah.
So, and I've got my own favourites, so why do I need to go to pay for it?
Yeah. So I've seen like Hunter as like that kind of social space where I felt like I can actually get into like the leather scene and meet new people. And then a lot of it is, I mean, there's so many different reasons why people wear the leather, why they're into the leather scene as a whole. For me, I like how it fits. It's hugging, it's warm. I'm also autistic, so I kind of like that hugging feeling that's like around my body, but not restrictive where I'm in bondage. So I'm completely, bondage just scares the hell out of me, but because I feel like restricted. But with this, I don't feel restricted. Apart from trying to walk upstairs, I can't really bend my legs that well. But
I was trying to restrain on at one of the booths earlier while we were walking around, and he looked terrified.
yeah, I was like, oh.
I'm into rope bondage, my autistic thing.
Oh, right,
but
cool.
What's quite funny is that the way that I've been tied up, I can still move around. There was one time when I couldn't bend over, which I found hilarious, basically. I was like, how do you tie this? I can't bend over. But
Yeah.
It's a different sensory thing.
Yeah,
Some
totally.
people are attracted to
Yeah.
leather, I'm attracted to the
I also like the creaky
You're
sounds
attracted to
and
wax.
I like the creaky sounds it makes, the smell. So it's a lot more different senses that I get from wearing
When I
leather.
was younger, I used to wear a lot more leather, and nowadays, in my dresses, I actually find neoprene more comfortable.
Mm.
And also, because I'm not so keen on the smell of rubber when you get hot spray, but with neoprene it's a bit more raunchy.
Mm.
And it's a lot more, and more importantly, unlike
My legs get tired.
You're fine. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
More comfortably in neoprene because it's practical.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, about the competition for this as well is quite different from, I guess, a bootblack. We don't have technical challenges per se. We do, like my competition was in 4 phases. So I had to stand up on stage to give an introduction to myself. And the second phase was to talk about a project. So everyone in that goes for Mr. Leather London needs to have a project in mind that they carry out throughout the year. We've had people set up, like the Leather Cruise Underground, that was set up by our first Mr. Leather London, that was Tom Keller. And then Stefan from last year set up I guess it was like a speed dating kind of thing where you get to know each other, like in our community, and they ring a bell every 15 minutes and you swap partners and you ask questions, like that comes out of a pot. So that was pretty interesting. So mine is actually going to be an event. I'm holding a one-off event. Hopefully it could be more than that, where we can celebrate and showcase the work of artists, creative minds, like artists, illustrators, photographers, and live musicians. all under one roof and kind of showcase their creativity. And I've always been an admirer of like amateur photographers or people who have really struggled to get into like selling their work. Galleries can be expensive, especially when trying to show your work. It's the, I guess, promotion of their material and their content can be difficult. So I wanted to create an environment and a space for everyone to come together and they can showcase and see what the differences are. So one of the things I wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys know Tom of Finland. So this is an illustration. I don't have enough to pass around, so.
We all know Tom of Finland? Tom of Finland, anyone?
Yeah, Tom of Finland. So, wow.
You want to give a basic overview of Tom of Finland?
Well, I mean, you might know a little bit more than me.
Tom of Finland, Finnish guy, believe it or not, was like closeted gay and anonymously sent a bunch of fetish illustrations that he would draw in his own time to magazines that got in the States that got published there. These illustrations, he was fascinated with bikers. He was fascinated with like military fetishism and all of this stuff, and like that, a lot of that was infused into his drawings.
Meat packers as well.
People loved his art, and it just got published not under his real name. It got published under the name Tom of Finland in a lot of magazines in the States, and very much became this big sort of like thing that cemented a lot of the like traditional aesthetics of the gay leather scene, like biker jackets and military caps and beefy boys and all of these things. But that's not necessarily.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the art and the leather scene isn't just all about Tom of Finland. We've also got, there's an amazing artist called Ben Newton. So he's done pop art kind of style stuff. And in fact, one of them, he would use glitter or 3D elements to his paintings and his photography that he would put together. So he's had a few gallery showcases around in London. So there's a big difference in, I guess, style from going from like that kind of, I guess you'd say, almost all white male kind of thing, whereas he's included people of color as well as just a different style of like pop. And he's also had women and dominatrixes pose for him, and has like loads of, like a huge gallery worth of it. So he's going to be at my event as well, showing off his work as in our gallery. So that's going to be really interesting and a lot of fun.
Do you have any Ralph or Martin?
Sorry?
Do you have any Ralph or Martin?
We've only done a call out for like artists yesterday, so we haven't really got a lot of interest. So I knew Ben personally, as well as Matt Spike. So Matt Spike will be providing some photography for us as well, but also looking at live musicians. Our previous Mr. Leather London, Stefan, he's a guitarist and a singer, so he'll be providing some music as well.
I have to slightly tongue in cheek. Do you have to kiss puppies and save the world as you're this world?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not all, I don't know, world peace kind of thing. No, it's a lot of it is just advocacy work, trying to be an ambassador and representative of the club. I'll have to travel around Europe to promote inclusivity and that kind of stuff. Sorry?
You know, like for instance, if you are representing London and you're going to go to, say, Christopher Street in Berlin or something, well, then the club pays for you, so that's come out of your pocket.
It's all out of my pocket. I do get some sort of a travel budget of like £300 for the year, but everything else is on my own dime. So.
Because I remember the days, the thing scene when MSC London used to have hundreds of members. I mean, I stopped being a member. Sometimes 40,000. But there used to be like in London, there used to be all sorts of clubs. Rubberman, tanning club.
Yeah.
There were literally hundreds of them, but they all basically died. MSC London, I don't know if you've got the logo.
Yeah.
I thought that died years ago as well.
No, it's still going. We've had our 50th.
We found out it's just come alive again. But
Yeah.
what I want to know is, because I used to be a member,
Yeah.
years ago, probably before you weren't even tadpole in the nuts. What happened to all the stuff that they used to? Is it kept in storage?
I'm not entirely sure. You'll have to ask them about that.
A short little guy who used to come from Tristan D'Acunha.
I'm
And he had loads of it.
gonna have to stop you short because I've got to get to these questions. We've only got a few minutes left of this workshop, so.
If anyone's wondering, I'm not just spitting on the boots. It's
Those have already been addressed.
doing something called
So.
Particular material you're using there to do.
So actually, what I'm doing is I'm using my hanky. The fisting hanky. Because I have like a buffing cloth that I seem to have forgot to bring with me. But you can use like any sorts of just fine cloths for doing buffing work, and it's basically just it's just like polishing with finer and finer. It's like the opposite of sanding. It's like you're using finer grit sandpaper to work more material away. I'm adding more material and smoothing it out, and the spit is a good lubricant for that. It's also hot, so yeah.
So
if you like spit,
one of the impressions is that it is male dominated, and just the general look. They've said leather gay in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So that's it's very fair. It does seem to be very male dominated, and it's something that we've been actively trying to change. We do have a lot of non-binary people that are in the club. And it's not all just black leather either. We have a few that wear yellow leather and pink leather. So, and it just looks amazing. It's fantastic.
I think it's also worth mentioning, from my perspective of somebody who's not a guy who spends a lot of time in spaces like this, is that the London Leatherman, I think it's fantastic that there's a lot of there's a big move towards greater inclusivity, especially when, as it stands, I'm trying to do something about this. There's not a huge there's not really very much of a leather scene for other communities of people. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, it's very, very early doors, so you didn't hear this from me, but me and a few people are trying to work on a similar club for leather dykes and anybody who feels comfortable with that term, and we're working a lot with some of the people from the London Leathermen to get that. Yeah.
For me, it's I can appreciate the gaze.
Yeah.
wrote on my thing that it's not my space, so that's partly why I haven't even.
For sure, and this is a good point. I think affinity spaces are important, right?
But I love leather so much. Just the smell of it just drives me crazy. I want to share that with people that understand it.
Yeah. Well, watch this space. What else have we?
I'm looking.
Yeah. What else we got?
Many of these have been covered about community and exclusivity.
Sweet. I'm going to do a tiny little bit more on this one. Thank you. Just going to get it back up to the level.
Yeah, the men's leather community isn't trans inclusive. I guess the perception is that it isn't trans inclusive, but again, we are definitely working hard on that, and we've always been open. It's even in our constitution and our I can't think of the wording of it.
Code of conduct.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
It's all part of the code of conduct and that kind of stuff. So I'm getting the cramps. Sorry.
No, you're so fun. You're so fun. I spend a lot of time at lots of events from the London Leatherman and also other gay men's leather spaces in the country, because I have to go around and represent the title, right? Yeah.
The best in the UK, so.
I like to think so. And there are loads of trans guys and like transmasculine people and non-binary people like in like gay Leatherman spaces. I think it's just I don't know, like people don't necessarily see a huge amount of that, but there is a lot of there are a lot of trans people in the scene. I think I understand why there's like hesitation, but like for instance, London Trans Pride for the last couple of years, this year included, there's a trans leather club called Proteus, which is very cool, and they always have a block, and the London Leathermen always like march in solidarity with Proteus, and it's like a really really cool thing.
I've been a member of the London Leathermen for less than a year, right? After 40 years absence. How wonderful.
Yeah.
All the things getting said.
Yeah, and I'm trans, and I'm not even like I guess I'm there is some element of masculinity to my presentation. I'm a butch woman, right? But I'm also a trans woman, and like I've never felt unwelcome in London Leatherman spaces, for instance.
Some of us in Parliament Square last
Yeah. So I've got one more, I guess, misconception that I don't think I've actually spoke about, and it was just that it's expensive to be part of it, like part of the community, and you have to own a certain amount of leather, and you have to be dressed all in like one brand, all this kind of stuff. So I've started off very, very cheaply with like leather wrist cuffs. I've had secondhand stuff, like I've had secondhand chaps that I've just had altered. So eventually it's building up, like a leather jock strap, and then got harnesses given to me. And then eventually I was able to start purchasing new clothes. It's taken me over a decade to get to the point where I'm at. And I've got like 5 different brands of leather on me. So it's not even the same brand of everything.
You should do mix and match because, you know, I won't go along with blush because I think they're also bollocks, basically. And also I think those drops look idiotic. But I mean, I remember being in Selfridges with a girlfriend of mine, and I was dressed head to toe in leather, and this rather snotty woman looked at me as though, what are you doing in this restaurant? So I just turned around and I said, look, love, you've been shopping at C&A, I've got £2,000 worth of gear on. What are you wearing?
C&A. Do the young people know what C&A is?
Well,
It's like Marks and Spencer.
it's
There you go.
Cool. I think that's about it. I mean, we're really pushing for time at the moment. So if anyone's got any questions.
Speed round.
For me, yeah.
Answers 10 words or less.
How do you find you on social media?
Oh, yeah. So I am Solid Wolf G2, or you can just look for Mr. Leather London, and yeah, you'll be able to see my hashtags and that kind of stuff.
I'm a Butch Boots on Instagram. The U in the word Butch is a V. I've got business cards here as well, if anybody wants one. I work at events like this quite a lot, if anybody ever wants anything worked on. I also do like private appointments, and I also give advice. So if anybody wants to grab a business card and inquire about any of that, we can do that in a moment. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much for the nice comments as well. Like I've read some of these comments, they're like actually really nice, warm, fuzzy feelings. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming today.